Yes, lads, UFC Fighter Jack Show here. You can catch me on the latest episode of Ace Podcast Nation. Make sure to give him a subscribe on YouTube. It's youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. And looking forward to get back on there soon.
Defending champion, welcome, Danny Batten.
Still number one. Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Danny Batten Fight Show. This is episode number 46. We'll be talking last night's UFC card and some bits of news. You can find the show video version youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Please subscribe, as we're nearly up to 1,000 subscribers on there. You can also find the audio version at all your favourite radio and podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and more. But with no further ado, back from his travels, he had a week off, is none other than former Cage Warriors champion, UK MMA legend, Mr. Daniel Batten. How are you?
Yes, all good. I would like to say I'm rested from my trip, but that was not the case. We was actually quite busy when we was out there.
Work up there.
Oh, we did.
I did. Seen your Instagram pictures.
Yeah, I did fall into the trap of drinking a little bit. Yeah, I did a couple of times. But it had to be done. But I still trained in the early hours of the morning. And one of the sessions we was drinking till like 1:30 a.m. and we were training at 3 a.m.
Mate, I tell you what, at our age, 1:30 a.m. that's a late one, mate.
That's a late one for me.
I'd be dead the next day if I done that these days. But I am thrilled to welcome our special guest. It's Cage Warriors Welterweight, Mr. Aaron King Khalid, back for another go. How are you, my friend? You right?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Top man.
Thanks for having me on again.
Indeed, yeah. So like last time we spoke to you was in the build-up to your fight at Cage Warriors. Obviously, you were on this show and you did a little interview with me as well. How was that? It wasn't a long fight for you, was it?
No, 28 seconds. It was good. It was we game planned perfectly for that. To be honest with you, like we knew he was going to come out aggressive, throw a left hook, right hook, perfectly. Now the plan was to startle him with something, or if he threw it again, throw a knee up the middle. So I startled him with the head kick and then he shot right in. It was perfect. But I didn't think he was going to give me the neck so easy. That was kind of much easier than I thought it was going to be.
That's the way it's always good when a plan comes together. Danny, you were in where's it? Abu Dhabi, innit? Abu Dhabi? Yeah. Last week with Modestus for Fight Island. How was your second Fight Island experience?
Yeah, I mean the experience is always second to none. It's the way you get treated there, from the time that you fly out to the time that you fly back is incredible. Really is. And obviously it's lovely surroundings. We're in a top hotel, got our own private beach, good food. It's really, really great. And they prep up one of the rooms, which are really large rooms, as a gym. So we got a gym next door to ourselves. Every fighter has that. And so everything was great experience-wise. We just didn't get the result.
No, of course, yeah. We, me and Ben, obviously, we broke it all down last week, and Ben did an excellent job filling in for yourself. But it just didn't. It's one of them things. Jimmy Crute is he is a really good fighter, but he's also very experienced, and just one of them, mate. It's fighting. You never know.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that a lot recently. Obviously, we've seen people like Oban's undefeated record go, where everyone expected him to win. I was very confident. I thought Modestus would win, even though I thought was wary of Jimmy Crute. I was still surprised that Modestus ultimately lost. But it is what it is. I expect him to come back stronger, mate, and I'm sure you do as well.
We know what I know or feel in my heart what went wrong. I would have liked to have seen him stick behind the jab early, but sometimes when you put under pressure, when I trained under Greg Jackson, when he come over, he talks about going back to your teddy bear, which is like your original roots of martial arts when you're under pressure. And I think when Crute was pressuring forward, Modestas just went back to his kicking game. But the issue with that is it puts you up on one leg, so that makes the threat of the takedown. We know how good Crute is on the ground, and we wanted to avoid that, which we did. But the kicking creates those opportunities, and he nearly took it. But Modesta's done well to stay up on his feet. I commend him on that one. But one of the big don'ts that I say about is to throw hands and then the kick on the same side. And if you have a look at that end sequence, he threw the jab and then kicked with the left leg. So he jabbed with the left and then tried to kick with the leg. Well, like I say, it puts you up on one foot for one thing, but the hand never returns. So you throw out your jab, and when you go to throw up a kick, it comes down both sides, so you never bring it back to reference point. And that was all she wrote, really. Crute kept throwing over that overhand and trying to throw a combination where you're throwing left and then left kick. Yeah, you're going to get caught, and he did. But lessons learned, you evolve from it, and it was a big step up. So, almost a shot to nothing, I suppose you would say. Okay, so we got the loss, but I think losing to someone like Crute, no one's going to be like, oh, wow. But, did we believe we could get the win? Absolutely. But I think Crute had more ways to win. Modesta had a specific niche way of winning, and he had to keep it in that arena, and he was unable to. Well done to Crute and his team. They had a game plan, and when we spoke to him the next day, it sounded like they had it all go to plan, like Aaron was saying about his fight. Everything went to plan for them. The only good thing regards me training Modestas over these last couple of years is that I was trying to work a lot of his takedown defense and his anti-jiu-jitsu methods to get back to his striking. And Crute did say that, when I got hold of you, I felt like this was going to be a no-go zone to try and get you to the ground. I just felt like he was going to burn too much energy trying to get you there. So he decided to stick with the strike, and it was a good call on his part to do so because it led to the win.
Yeah, we talked about fight IQ, a lot over these last 50-odd episodes. And I mean, that is fight IQ, isn't it? He could have just prolonged going for the game plan of the takedowns, but he adjusted and ultimately got the win that he was looking for. And I do agree with you, it was a shot to nothing because it was his second fight in the UFC, fighting the ranked number 16 fighter. If he had got the win, it's massive for him, beating basically a ranked fighter. If it doesn't go your way, which it didn't on that night, it's not like everyone's looking down, going, "Oh my god, I can't believe you lost to that guy." And plus, at the end of the day, mate, I bet you if they fought 100 times, I think it would probably be quite even. I do think Modesta is capable of beating Jimmy Crute. I just think that on that night, Jimmy Crute's game plan was on point and it went his way. But it's what it is, I suppose. So before we get to a certain Khabib, who retired from MMA last night, I just wanted to touch on a few little bits and pieces. So we've had a couple of fights announced. We've got Leon Edwards versus Kamzat Chamayev on headlining the December the 19th UFC event. Number one, that's going to be an absolute wonderful fight. And number two, Chamayev, is that the quickest anyone has headlined the UFC event? Because he's only had 3 fights in the UFC. Aaron, you looking forward to that one, mate?
Yeah, I can't wait. I like watching Leon Edwards fight. I think he's real good. He's real clinical in what he does. Like his striking's on point. His clinch work's on point. So it's a good test for Chamayev, but it's a kind of a lose-lose for Edwards. If he beats Chamayev, people will be like, you beat someone outside the rankings, you don't deserve a title shot, blah, blah, blah. If he loses to Chamayev, people are like, see, you didn't deserve a title shot anyway. You don't deserve to be number 3 anyway. So
I don't know, though. Like, the only thing I think with that, like, whilst I agree technically, the only thing I think is, like, Chamayev is, like, the new big thing, and everyone's talking about him. Even kind of casual fans are talking about him. So I think if Leon Edwards, for instance, was to go in and starch him in a minute, I think that's going to be massive for Leon Edwards. However, I think losing to Chamayev is also massive for Leon Edwards. So I do agree with you from that side of it. Danny, you looking forward to that one, mate?
Yeah, I think it's just really good. I mean, to me, Leon Edwards and Chamayev, if you look at them both, you've got one person that's not had hardly any time in the UFC and suddenly getting all this incredible attention, and rightly so, I'd say. He's been faultless, right? But then Leon Edwards has done some amazing things, and I don't feel like he's got enough attention for the great work he's done. He should have had
a title shot, shouldn't he, already?
I think he's done incredibly well, and I think he's been kind of, for whatever reasons, I don't know, put in the shadows a little bit.
Yeah, he's like an afterthought, isn't he?
Yeah, I do think that
he's overlooked.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's even got the talk as well. He talks aggressive, he's confident, and I think, this is a great matchup. I think on paper, just looking at it on pure paper terms, this is a difficult situation for Leon, but nevertheless, Chameyev's definitely got loads of attention built around him, and I think it will help bring Leon Edwards into the limelight if he beats Chamayev, and he absolutely could beat him. Is there going to be times where Chamayev gets him to the ground? Probably, no doubt he will, but what kind of adversity to get him there? Leon will fight trade on trade. I think his takedown defense predominantly will hold up to a point where if Chamayev does get him down, is he going to keep him down? At what point in the round will he get him down? I think Leon Edwards will be there and trading up with Chamayev quite well. I'm really excited about this one. It's going to be a test for Chamayev. And when I say a test, I more mean that we're going to see more of him. He's not going to fold like the other ones have. Who was the other chap that they put in? Oh my goodness! Excuse me.
What, against Chamayev?
Yeah, really unfair. I thought it was really harsh on him.
Rhys McKee.
Rhys McKee. Yeah. I mean,
he's got another fight coming up as well.
Yeah. I think if Rhys McKee could have had some proper prep, he may have gone in there and you would have seen more of him. I have no doubt of that. But under the circumstance of how he got catapulted into UFC with that short notice and everything, I'm not surprised what happened to him happened. But Leon Edwards will be prepared. He's not going to be bullied mentally, and I don't think he'll be turning shy to all this attention that's around Chamayev. I just don't think he'll be starstruck by any stretch, and he'll take it to him.
Yeah, I mean, Chamayev, he submitted John Phillips, then he starched Rhys, and then he beats Gerald Meerschaert, I think, wasn't it, in like 17 seconds or something.
Yeah, and really, and he has the skill set to have pushed it further than he did, but he looked scared. He looked
all three of those guys.
He looked
those guys have got the ability to do more than what they did. So I don't know whether is that an indication of how good Chamayev is, or particularly I think in Meerschaert's case, I think he looked as if he'd gone in his head.
He backed up, he had his hand down, his face, he was turning away as Chamayev threw punches.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
Leon Edwards won't do that. he's going to take it to him.
Well, there's a funny thing about this with Edwards. So I was kind of following it on Fightful on, I think it was Thursday or Wednesday, and they put an article up saying Leon Edwards has been removed by the UFC from the rankings because he's turned down a load of fights, and he hasn't fought since the middle of 2019, but supposedly they removed him from the rankings because he had been turning down so many fights because he was ranked 3, and then literally the same day, and it was not even like a couple of hours later, it was within an hour of me reading that article, or even that article going up, Dana White announced, I think it was like a radio show or a podcast of some sort, that he announced this fight, which I found really weird. And in between that, Leon Edwards kind of tweeted something at Chamayev, saying let's go or whatever. It's a strange one. Why Aaron, why do you reckon they would have removed him from the rankings and then put him in the fight?
I don't know why they removed him. A lot of people were saying it's because of his inactivity, like you just mentioned, but there's been fighters who have been more inactive than he has and still in the rankings.
Yeah, the UFC rankings are weird, aren't they?
So I don't know. It doesn't seem like a UFC kind of bullied him into this fight. Knowing he probably turned down a few other fights, and then Chamayev was going to step up and take the fight. But
yeah, I think they were struggling actually to get Chamayev another fight, because a few people he was kind of linked with, and they seemed to
Neil Magny wanted that fight though, didn't he?
Yeah, but did you see what I think it was Dana White said? He basically said he had like no interest in Neil Magny fighting him, which I don't know if that's a bit disrespectful to Neil Magny maybe, but
Yeah, he's fantastic.
It would
Fantastic
have made more
fighter.
sense than Leon, because Neil's ranked 15, isn't he, or 13, something like that?
let's have a look. Neil Magny ranked 9,
No, 9.
and obviously Leon Edwards is ranked number 3, and Chamayev is technically not in there at the moment. I think he obviously will be when they redo him the next time. But
He's only had one fight at welterweight.
that's mad, that isn't it? But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, how that fight goes, because I think it's going to be a good one. Another fight which was announced is Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier, the rematch in January. Danny, how do you see that going, and are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I mean, I like. Say like a fan of I like what McGregor brings. You know, he brings a bit of attention. You know, love him or hate him, it's a great attention for the sport. I think he's generally an exciting fighter. So I like it that he's still in the mix. Yeah, I would like to see him with a fresh, new this type of opponent, sort of test him. But then again, Poirier's, he's had so much fighting experience since the last time that they fought, so I'm sure it's going to be a very different Poirier from previous. It'd be kind of interesting to see what happens. Conor McGregor's just like, is he been in training camp the whole time that he's not been fighting? I just don't know.
He says he's been training all the way through.
Okay,
But, I mean,
He's not going to say he haven't, though, is he?
No, that's right. Yeah, I mean, if it is the case, my money's still going to be on McGregor.
has he been training boxing though? Because there was rumours of him fighting Pacquiao. So, like, has he been training boxing with that in mind, as opposed to like MMA training? It's difficult now. You're never going to know for 100%. One thing I do know is John Kavanagh has been in Ireland and doing a lot of stuff with Bellator with his other fighters, so he hasn't been with Conor McGregor. Which it wouldn't be like quite fight camp time now anyway, would it? Be what? When would they start fight camp? For the middle of January or early January, end of November, something like that? Would it be? You two would know better than me, but around sort of then
10 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting. I often go back and watch Conor McGregor's rise, like his early fights in the UFC, because I just find it very interesting watching him develop as a fighter. Because when he came into the UFC, he was quite raw. He was obviously a good striker. He was obviously a good fighter. He had double Cage Warriors champion, but he wasn't as polished as when you see him fight like Eddie Alvarez, when he absolutely, like, that was a really good fight to watch, because there was the Alvarez fight and there was another fight around that time. I think what's his name? Eddie Alvarez. Who did he fight around Alvarez? And everyone thought he was going to get done by the both of them, and he absolutely starched both of them. Oh, that's going to bug me. But yeah, with the no, he was. I keep thinking Eddie, but it's someone else. It'll come to me now. But like I was watching, like, you watched the Chad Mendes fight. McGregor had a bit of trouble with Chad Mendes at first with his wrestling, and then he kind of settled, and ultimately, he finished him. So I'll be interested to see with how much experience McGregor's got now and how his fighting's developed. But Dustin Poirier is a very different fighter to when he fought Conor McGregor first time round, and I think Poirier's shown time and time again that he is, he's a very, very good fighter. Is he like an elite level kind of very top tier fighter? I'm not 100% sure about that. Like, is he up there with your John Joneses and your Israel Adesanyas and your Khabibs and your Conor McGregors? I don't know, but if McGregor's not focused, or he hasn't trained as well, like against Cowboy, Conor McGregor looked back to that kind of driven, focused, the way, which got him the rise that he had. If he's like that, I tend to think he might beat Poirier, well, not easily, but comfortably. Whereas if he's not focused in any way, Poirier is more than capable of beating him. Do you think?
Who's that to?
You, Aaron's just popped out. Yeah, sorry, mate.
Yeah, I just, I mean, when you watch McGregor fight, he strikes a lot laser beams, and you know, if you're going to get anything of a sniff of a clean shot landed, it's gonna tumble you. And the only thing with Poirier, he does get himself caught up in a bit of wars. You know, he hits well, but also he gets hit a lot himself. You know, he gets caught up in these wars. I think getting caught up in a war with McGregor is just not a good idea. You know, I think he should, have a good strategy, good game plan to try to focus on where McGregor's weak. And I don't mean like the ground. And I think he's weak when he's tired. And I think he should look to try and get through that first round safe, and then try to progress the fight for the rounds 2 and 3. I think that's where he should be trying to push his focus for a strategic edge against McGregor. But if he goes in there trying to push some kind of pace on him with the wrong type of game plan, he could come woefully unstuck against McGregor. Yeah. So that's how I look at it, really.
It's going to be fascinating, mate, isn't it, to look at it and just to see what McGregor turns up and how the fight goes. I was just trying to find the Dustin Poirier match to see how it went, because off the top of my head I can't remember it.
He got
clipped behind.
Yeah, he got clipped quite early. He was getting pressured back. He was backpedaling a little bit, from what I remember.
Aaron, how do you see that fight going, mate? Poirier and McGregor.
I think McGregor's going to stop him again. But I don't think it'll be as easy as the first fight. I think he'll be in the third round, second round.
I think... Go on.
He hits so hard and he's so accurate with his strikes. And like Danny was saying, Poirier does tend to get hit quite a lot. And McGregor's not somebody you could get hit against.
That was exactly what I was going to say. With McGregor, it's not so much about getting hit. His strikes are so accurate that when he hits you, he's going to hit you on the button. So he's not a fighter who's going to break the record for number of strikes. But if you do get hit, they tend to be very solid shots or in the right spots. It'd be interesting with obviously Khabib retiring. If McGregor does go and starch Poirier, it's kind of like, well, you know what he's going to be saying. He's going to be looking for a title, and we've talked about this division before, Danny. It is a very stacked division, but Dustin Poirier is ranked number 2. So if McGregor does win, and McGregor's ranked number 4, surely McGregor's got to fight Gaethje or Ferguson next after that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they make this a title fight, because they're both coming off wins where Gaethje and Tony aren't.
So you reckon it'll be an interim title fight?
Could be something like that, yeah.
And then the winner will fight Ferguson, I guess.
It's going to be out of those 4 guys, isn't it? Gaethje, Tony, Conor and Dustin. And only Dustin and Conor are coming off wins, where Tony and Gaethje have both come off losses to the same guy.
Yeah, and I mean, Ferguson's defeat was rough to Gaethje, wasn't it? And obviously Gaethje lost to Khabib, which we're going to talk about in a bit. It's an interesting one. There's some big names in that division, so I'd be very interested to see kind of what happens with it. Very quick question for you both. Do you think we will see Israel Adesanya face John Jones in 2021? And if so, what weight will it be? Danny, we'll go to you first, mate.
I think it's quite highly likely that could well happen. Yeah, I think it could happen.
What weight, though, do you reckon?
I think it'd be at light heavy. We know Jones can obviously get there, and Israel, he could easily, obviously going to be easy for him. He just don't have to cut weight for middleweight. So I think it could happen, but I think he's going to come up short against someone like Jones.
Do you?
Jones, yeah, I do.
That's interesting.
Jones is an incredible wrestler. He's really rangy, so it's not. Israel Adesanya, he's been looking dominant because he's rangy. He's got really good footwork, but Jones could press him back with long reach of his, that height advantage that he's got, and he's got the wrestling backup. So he's going to keep pressing forward, and I think it'll wear down on him. That's just how I think.
Yeah, but no, I take it. Like for me, I look at the. Okay, I'll include the middleweight, the light heavyweight, and the heavyweight, just for the sake of argument. I think the only person who I see on paper giving John Jones any trouble is Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya, and when I look at that heavyweight division, I just look at it and I think John Jones would starch most of them. The only potential problems I see for him in that division are maybe like a Francis Ngannou, if he was to get clipped, or a Stipe. I think with Ngannou, John Jones would probably just take him down. Other than that, I look at those three divisions and I kind of don't see anyone who would give him trouble. But what about you, Aaron? Do you think we see Israel Adesanya versus John Jones?
It's likely, but I think Izzy wants to try and surpass Silva's record in middleweight, doesn't he? For the most part of the defences.
Yeah.
And so, but, you know,
he could do both, couldn't he?
He could go out there, fight his next fight again. Yeah. Yeah, he could do maybe a super fight against Jones. And I don't think it's a good fight for Izzy. I think Jones's clinch work's too good. He'll get him in the clinch, get him to the ground. I think it'll be too much for him, too big, too strong.
Anyone in that heavyweight division for you guys who you think would give John Jones trouble? Just to jog your memory, I'll give you some of them. So you got Stipe, Ngannou, Curtis Blades, Rosenstruck, Derek Lewis, Overeem, Junior Dos Santos, Volkov, Sakai, Abdur Makhachev, Walt Harris, Olyanek, Ivanov. Anyone there, Dan, who think give John Jones trouble in the heavyweight division?
Not really, no. They're just
Maybe
not dynamic.
Stipe, no?
I don't even think Stipe. I just don't think they're dynamic enough. There's just no one there to hit a surprise on him. I just think it's a slower division. He's clearly got a sharp mind. He's got a mind and a body that reacts like a welterweight and middleweight. But I just don't think there's anyone who can surprise him. Okay, so they've got puncher's chances at that weight, but that's about all they've got, and I just don't think that's enough to beat someone of Jones's caliber. Yeah.
So here's a question for you. Obviously, he was light heavyweight champion. Has he made that move to heavyweight with that in mind? Because he's getting older, with that in mind and the weight cutting and things like this, that he can go to heavyweight and on paper it looks like quite a comfortable time. Whereas you look at that light heavyweight division, you've got Blachowicz, you've got Reyes, you've got Ozdemir, you've got Johnny Walker or Serkinov, Krylov. There's some guys coming up, shall we say, who are not probably ready for John Jones now, but maybe, give it a year or two. They may not Dominic Reyes, obviously, but like Blachowicz and Ozdemir and Krylov, Johnny Walker, and Kalov. I'd like even Jimmy Crute, give him a few years or a year or two. He should be, in the title picture by the end of next year if he keeps developing. So has John Jones got that in his mind when he's moving to heavyweight? Aaron, do you think?
I just think he wants to dominate that division now. He's done everything he can at light heavyweight. He fought everything they've given him. He just wants to go there and prove he can dominate that division. And like you said, he is getting a bit older. Most of the heavyweights are pretty much the older guys, aren't they?
Yeah, sure.
So I think he sees that heavyweight division being weaker than the light heavyweight division, like you just mentioned, and I think he knows he could probably run through that division and be once you're the heavyweight champion of the world, there's no one above you, is there?
No.
Where
How many fights do you think he's got to have a heavyweight
champion
before he gets a title shot? How many fights do you think he's got to have?
One. I'd give him one fight. But not even that, I'd give him a straight title fight.
Would you?
But
that's going to upset some people, isn't it?
He's been dominant in the light heavyweight division.
Yeah, I wonder whether they should give him like a big striker, like an Ngannou or a Derek Lewis or someone.
Fight straight away.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. And he hadn't fought for years, whereas at least John Jones is, he was champion recently, and I guess when you put it like that,
Frankie
and
Edgar as well,
ultimately,
featherweight.
yeah, and ultimately, the UFC is about. I know they're less so about pay-per-view buys these days, but they want to put big fights, super fights on, don't they? Particularly, I think, in this kind of COVID era, you look at some of the cards, even the card which we're going to talk about next week, which is just like your average fight night card. 3 of the fights: Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva in Anderson Silva's last fight, Bryce Mitchell versus Andre Fili, which is a bit of a sleeper, and Kevin Holland versus Makhmud Muradov, and Greg Hardy's on the card and Bobby Green's on the card, and that's without the prelims being announced. So I mean, that's quite not like a super stacked card, but there's some big names on there just for your, your run of the mill kind of fight night. And I think in this era they are trying to put on bigger fights with the fans not there. Very lastly then, Dan, who would you? If I'm saying you can't put John Jones straight into a title fight at the heavyweight, who would you put him up against before that title fight?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, someone who's going to hit hard, has got that puncher's chance, which all heavyweights do. But yeah, maybe Derek Lewis, someone like that. But is there any point? I would put him straight in for title opportunities. But Joe, what I'm thinking he's doing, I think he wants to become the heavyweight champion. And you'll have a reshuffle around of the activities for the light heavyweight, and I think he'll go back down and steal that title again, just to ferment his legacy. Then I think he'll retire.
You think he wants to get the heavyweight title and then target the
go back down
heavyweight title holder?
Yeah, just to show he can do it wherever he wants, and then it just create a legacy, for himself.
Sure.
Even though he has already, but I just think, well, that'd be amazing, and I think he can do it as well.
Yeah, I think if he wasn't as old as he is, I would look at that light heavyweight type division, and there's no one in there, I think, which really troubles him at the moment. Jan Blachowicz is the one, I think, which I've got like a little bit of question mark about, but even him, I think ultimately John Jones will beat him. I'd like to see the Adesanya fight, because I think that could be tasty, because they don't like each other very much. I always enjoy the fights where the people don't like each other. Adds a bit. Right, come on then, let's get into the last night's show. Fight Island 6, I think it was. Some good fights, very stacked card, even with a load of fights falling through. In terms of the prelims, the 2 fights I want to focus on, Nathaniel Wood versus Casey Kenny. Me and Ben discussed last week how we really, we obviously, as Brits, we wanted Nathaniel Wood to do well, but we felt Casey Kenny was a very difficult fight for him, even after Casey Kenny had a bit of a timeout, and that proved to be the case, although it was a very enjoyable fight, and I thought it was quite close as well. Aaron, what did you make of the Nathaniel Wood versus Casey Kenny?
It was amazing, like straight from the first bell, the first round. They were just at each other, weren't they? Wood was trying to count.
Oh, Aaron's broken up. Dan, what did you make of it?
It was a cracker of a match. You had Nathaniel Woods, rather than trying to lump in hard as he can shots, he was more trying to do kicks in punches. He was really doing a full combination on Casey Kenny, and Kenny was looking to land a more significant strikes, the hard ones. He was perhaps looking for something that was going to lead to a KO. Brilliant fight. But Casey Kenny fought only a few weeks back, didn't he?
So he had a bit of a layout, and then he fought a couple of weeks back, and then he fought again. Obviously,
he looked really dominant in that previous. That was the one where he's doing all the body kicks, wasn't it? And his cardio was incredible. But this was at a catch weight, and I think maybe because Kenny perhaps couldn't get down, taking this fight maybe on I don't suppose he had this plan to fight so soon, but I just think he just took the opportunity. I thought the decision could have gone either way, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought it was that close, mate.
I really thought Nathaniel Wood done amazing. This is another kid that I feel like perhaps don't get enough attention. because he don't do a lot of the big talking. But this kid's an absolute talent. I mean, Casey Kenny's an accomplished wrestler, and he never looked like he had an easy time trying to get Nathaniel Wood down. Okay, so he kind of got into a back situation up against the fence, but Nathaniel Wood's takedown defense is amazing when you think that, you know, born and bred in the UK, we don't have that access to such high wrestling. That's right.
Final round as well. Like that sprawl perfect when Casey Kenny hit that. Sure. It was really, like he put a real good performance.
Casey Kenny's record in the UFC, he didn't have a layout at all. I must have got him mixed up with someone else. His record in the UFC is unbelievable, and he's fought some incredible fighters. So his debut in the UFC was in March 2019, where he beat Ray Borg via unanimous decision. Then in August 2019, he beat Bermudez via the unanimous decision. Then he lost to Merab Jishvili. Sorry, I butchered his name. In February this year, via a decision, and then he's beaten Smolka in May of 2020 via a submission. Then he beat Hilai Alatin in October the 4th, 2020, and then obviously he's beaten Nathaniel Wood. So he's like doing very, very well. And I mean, I gotta be honest, the only fighter I'm not familiar with out of all those was that Hailey Alatang, the Chinese fighter, which he fought a couple of weeks back. So, you know, he's fought some big names, and I do feel for Nathaniel Wood, because I feel like since he's come to the UFC, he hasn't had much luck in terms of who he's fought, because they brought him in and he fought Eduardo, beat him via a dash choke. He looked the real deal. Then he beat Andre Ewell and Quinoez or something, both of them via a rear naked choke. Then he lost to John Dodson via TKO in like the third round. I thought that was a bit unfortunate, because he had been looking all right up in that fight up until then. Then he came back and beat John Castaneda via a unanimous decision on the Whitaker Till card earlier this year. Then he had a fight fall through, I think. And then obviously he's lost Casey Kenny on decision. But I feel like he's had some tough fights these last 3-4 fights. You know, Dodson, Castaneda, Casey Kenny. They're not giving... I know there's no easy fights in UFC, don't get me wrong. But they're not messing about with him. And I feel like all of those fights, even the Dodson one, which he lost by TKO, could have gone in Nathaniel Wood's favour.
Yeah.
And it looks very different then, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? He's lost twice to Dodson and Casey Kenny. His record would look pristine if not for those. So I hope they don't, they don't start to sort of not give up on him, but kind of, because they have got behind him quite a lot. I hope they keep getting behind him, because I think he's got a lot to offer the UFC.
Yeah.
But Casey Kenny as well, Aaron, what do you make of specifically Casey Kenny's performance?
Who's that to?
Aaron, sorry, mate.
We said before, I think we started recording, I didn't hear of Casey Kenny before Ben mentioned him to me. But now you mentioned his record, I remember when he fought Bermudez, because I had a bet on Bermudez to win. And Casey Kenny kind of beat him up in his own game, didn't he? He beat him up from top position, didn't he? Yeah. So he's good. His wrestling was solid. His striking looked solid in that fight. His pressure, he looked strong for a bantamweight as well.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if sometimes you could find out where they're ranked, even though they're outside the 15, but I can't find it. Yeah, it'd be interesting who they match him up against next, because obviously he's just had 2 fights very quickly together. At least, but they both went to the decision. So yeah, but that'll be interesting. The next fight, Dan, on the prelims, or the main event of the prelims, was Tai Tuivasa versus Stefan Struve. You haven't seen this one, have you?
I didn't see it.
No. So it went 4 minutes 59 of the first round. it was pretty much your standard heavyweight exchange strikes. Stefan Struve is massive. He's ridiculous. He's like you got like the top of the cage and his head's like a foot above it. It's ludicrous. And obviously Tai Tuivasa is quite short as well for a heavyweight as well. He's quite short. But the finish came as Tuivasa got Struve against the cage, and he kind of just nailed him, and he got him. It started off where he kicked him in the midsection, and this has been a story of the last few weeks, and we're going to talk about it in one of the fights later on. How important these big body shots are, these big kicks to the ribs, and we've seen the last couple of weeks those kind of straight teak kind of kick into like the solar plexus is done for a couple of fighters, and like we'll talk about it later. But Walt Harris as soon as he got hit in the solar plexus by that kick, he was done. So I criticised, I think it was the woman last week, fighter, because by showing how much pain she was in, she allowed her opponent to spot it and capitalise on it. But maybe I owe her an apology because, Walt Harris is a big dude and he showed it as well. But just quickly, Aaron, what did you make of Stefan Struve and Tai Tuivasa performances?
Struve annoyed me in that fight. I had him to win on my accumulator and by submission. And once again, Struve come out, didn't use any of his range, didn't use any of his kickboxing, any of his teeps, nothing. Let Tuivasa get on the inside, and he got punished for it, like right at the end as well.
1 second to go.
All he had to do was circle off that cage. He just stayed there, allowed Tuivasa to piece him up against that cage. It's not what you want to see from a 6'11" guy getting chewed up by someone who's like 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, man. It's I think you're right though about Struve. Like in that heavyweight division, which we've discussed, is not the best. He's got the tools to do all right. Yeah. He should be
his ground games look real good when he takes it to the ground. His top game looks dangerous.
He just doesn't seem to
utilize. He fought someone. No.
It's weird, mate. Weird. Let's get on to the main card. So next, the first fight was Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba. This was an interesting one because this one had a controversial finish, didn't it? In their first fight. I can't remember what the finish was at the top of my head. I'll have a look now, though.
But Danny, what did you...
Yeah.
He was like doing a real rope-a-dope and the ref stopped it.
Ah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, I remember now. He was trying to do a rope-a-dope and the ref thought he was seriously, properly hurt, didn't he? Serves him right.
Yeah.
Well, he got smoked in this fight anyway, in my opinion. Danny, what do you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, Magomed just looked really solid. He weren't mucking about. Everything was business. He was trading off those shots with really nice tight technique. And Cutelaba was coming in a little bit open. And he was getting away with it for a few combinations. I mean, fair play to him. He was trying to go forward on Magomed, but yeah, it was inevitable he was going to get caught at some point. And when he got caught, it was curtains very, very quickly. I just felt like it was real business end for Magomed. He just was not going to leave anything to question. And I felt like he was dusting his hands off, like it's a segment of his career that he had to get sorted. And he did it in good fashion. And there's not really a lot else you can say about it. It was all on the feet. And it was impressive for what it was. I just liked it. He had really nice strict form and it was just taking no risks. And he got the job done, got it done really well.
Yeah, I hope they put this bloody fight to bed now because obviously you had them fight with the controversial stoppage. Then they rebooked it for, I think, April, and it was Ankalaev had to pull out due to COVID, pandemic travel restrictions. Then Cutelaba pulled from the next one where he was supposed to fight over in St. Preux, and then they had this one and they had to rematch it. And let's just put that to bed. And I think I agree with you, Danny. Ankalaev looked like this was only going to go one way in his mind. Like he was focused,
To
driven,
me,
and he just
he
wanted
did it
to get it done.
Yeah, it looked like he was not going to doubt that he was going to win. It looked like he just had the expression that he just had to get in there and do the time. And he knew he was. It's almost like he knew he was going to win. He knew he was better, but he just felt like, I don't know, he had to shut some people up and just get this bit done before he can move on. But he must be. He's got to be moving right up in the old ranks now. He's got to be getting up there.
Who's that? Angelov?
Because that's going to be interesting, seeing who they're going to give him next. Yeah.
So look, I'll tell you exactly where he is. He was 11 before this fight. So
so he's getting in there. He's getting amongst the thicker things.
I'll ask you both who you'd put him up against next. But Aaron, what did you make of this fight first?
Good. Kutalaba come out a bit wild, didn't he? And Ankalaev just capitalised on that. Was just solid, straight, good power behind his punches and just put him away.
Who would you put him up against?
Ozdemir
next. Ozdemir, that's a good shout.
Ankalaev.
I wouldn't mind seeing Ankalaev fight Johnny Walker though either. Although at the moment I think Ankalaev would probably start him in a.
Yeah, do you know what I was going to say? Put him against Johnny Walker because
they're trying to build Johnny Walker back up, aren't they?
They are, but I was going to say let's get Johnny Walker in there against him. But I think Johnny Walker's still got work to do on his overall MMA. I really do. I think it was a good call for him to go and train with John Kavanagh. But now I see that he was training with the Brazilian dude, the acrobatic guy, wasn't he? He's just like, is he training with John Kavanagh?
No, he was with Kavanagh because Kavanagh was in his corner, wasn't he, for his last fight?
Yeah, but is he stayed with him?
As far as I heard.
With that as well. Okay, yeah. I think that'll do him good. But yeah, that was who I was going to throw up. Yeah, it does seem that way, yeah.
Because he was in Russia.
He's got the potential, Johnny Walker. Yeah, he was, yeah. He's got the potential, Johnny Walker, 100% got the potential to be something special. But I think they just tried to push him too quick. I think they should have let him just keep building those wins instead.
Yeah, you say that. He was though, wasn't he? He kept knocking people out. So
within like a first round, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah. So they had to put him up, but he got kind of found out regards his groundwork or lack of thereafter. Seeing what happened to him on the ground, and I like I say, I think he got a little bit lucky in his last fight. I don't believe in the luck, as I always say, but. I thought, things just fell well for him. I don't think he looked good. I think he still looked really rushed with his striking, and it nearly got him in trouble. But he pulled it back round like he so often has. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, Aaron, you'd put him up against Ozdemir. Who would you put Ankalaev against, Dan?
Yeah. I was going to say the same. Yeah, I was going to say Johnny Walker.
You were going to say Johnny Walker.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Where's Johnny Walker ranked to?
9th. And
he's up there.
Ozdemir is 6th.
Yeah, just...
Another good one would be Misha Shirkinov versus Ankalaev. I like that. I like that fight. But there we go. Next up was the ladies. So we had Lauren Murphy versus Lilia Shakirova. I apologise. I'm terrible at these names. Wait till we get to Khabib. What do you make of this one? Aaron, we'll go to you first this time.
I think Lauren could have put it away much sooner than she did. I thought that Lilia looked much smaller and she didn't really have much to offer Lauren. As,
Lauren.
Once they were clinched up or once she was on the inside of her, I feel if Lauren took it down sooner and just put it on her kind of thing, like big brother that bullied her around, she could have finished her way sooner than she did. Yeah.
I thought it was quite one-sided, to be honest. Bloody hell. Shakirova looked. I don't want to say she looked out of her depth, but she was struggling to contain Lauren Murphy, I felt. I got to say, I thought Lauren Murphy was quite impressive, to be honest. I thought she was pretty good. Yeah. Danny, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I really liked it. She's got a really nice form. I like these people, not like they look like traditional strikers, let's not say, but she's got a nice square stance to deal with anyone that's going to shoot and wrestle, or if she chooses to shoot and wrestle herself. I like where she holds her hand positioning, and I liked it that she didn't rush. I absolutely agree with Aaron that she could have really put it on her and perhaps got Shirokova out the way quite quick, but I just think she was being sure-footed with the process. She was just going to take what was going to be given regards to the pouring pressure. I thought it was a really solid performance, and boy, did she like to talk afterwards. She kept pulling back the mic. She kept pulling back the mic. I think she's 37 years old, and I think she knows that if she's going to make things happen, she's got to make things happen now. And I think that's why she was pushing so hard with that mic in her hand. And yeah, let's give her a title shot. She deserves it on that performance. In terms of everything was quite clinical. I think she wanted to show she's got a mature, progressive game. She did that for me. I liked what I saw.
Yeah, and she, like you say, she took an opportunity on the mic, mate. By I thought she did really. She spoke very well.
Highly of herself.
Yeah, but this we've got to do, mate, isn't it? You've got to sell yourself.
Absolutely. No, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I was thinking, my goodness, she seems like she's, doubting whether she would get the shot that she feels that she deserves. And I think she's trying to push it.
She's put the pressure on Dana White to give her a shot now, haven't she?
But she's got herself in incredible shape. Like I say, I don't want to keep poking at her age, but she's 37 years old. That's not young. Never, isn't it? And yeah, she wants to make things happen and maybe make a stand for a couple of years as title holder, which I think she believes that she can get and obtain and potentially keep. So yeah, give this girl a chance. I think she's going to be a worthy opponent.
Oh yes. And the thing is, though, mate, at the end of the day, there's nothing more boring than a fighter going on and being respectful and saying, "Yeah, my opponent is great," and
you do need those.
I know. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but there's nothing more boring as a viewer than when they say, "Who would you like to call out?" and they just go, "Oh, anyone. I don't mind. Whoever they want to put me against." Sod that. I want to see someone saying, "I want the champ. I'm going to rip his head off."
There was someone being interviewed the other day, wasn't there? I can't think of the name. I'm like with these bloody names. I can't bloody remember them. But he was getting interviewed, and they was really trying to push him to say, who did you want to fight next? And he just looked like really shy to be interviewed. It was quite comical. Not what you normally see from fighters, but he looked really shy.
Next up was it was a long one. It was a brutal, long, back and forth fight between Phil Hawes and Jacob Malcone, lasting all of 18 seconds. Only slightly quicker than the King's last fight. Danny, what did you make of this 18 seconds?
All right, this Phil, because he was the underdog as well, wasn't he? But when they said underdog, and I looked at his physique, I'm like, oh my God, this guy looks monstrous. And then when it panned over to his opponent, he did look quite unassuming physically. But I thought, hey, maybe the bookies know something I didn't. But he come out and he just went at it and got the win very, very quickly. It's hard to take anything from that other than that he was there to take a scalp, and he took it in quick fashion. I think this guy looks like the real deal. I mean, he's not been tested. I don't know much about the guy other than what I saw. But this is definitely someone that made my eyebrows rise, and someone that I'm going to be looking at more closely. But my God, he was aggressive and quite clearly powerful.
Yeah.
Oh yes. What did you make of it? Anything to add, Aaron? I know it's difficult to add to 18
when
seconds.
It's that short.
Powerful, fast. He went straight in there for the kill, didn't he? There was no feeling out with him.
No.
I don't think that guy even got out of his corner, did he?
He didn't really, no.
Do you think he felt a bit disrespected that he was the underdog? You see some fighters, they don't like it, do they? They're the underdog. Someone's got to be the underdog. But he looked like he had a point to prove, at least.
Yeah, you can imagine he's like... I don't know how to put it. You can imagine he's very highly of himself, and then seeing he's the underdog to the guy he knows he's going to go out there and smash. He probably thought about disrespecting him. I'm going to prove a point here now. Go out there, take his head off, and then, see what.
Yeah, I think he read into a little bit the way his opponent come out from the cage. He didn't come out and try and take centre, and he looked a little. Like, if you have a look back at the footage, he was holding on to his cage. He just barely come out of his corner. He touched gloves, and he backed up from the get go and was tripping on the outskirts of the cage. He looked like he was intimidated by the physicality of Howes. He looked twitchy and nervous, and I just think that give Howes that confidence to just say, "Hey, you know what? He's backing up. Don't look like anything's going to come back at me. I'm going to throw everything at him." And he didn't get anything in return. The guy was twitching all over the place. I think he literally looked at the physicality, and it made his tail go between his legs, which you don't see very often these days in MMA, especially in UFC. You don't see that, but he looked scared.
Yeah.
There's been a few of those.
One thing from that fight as well, when that guy hit the deck, the ringer looked terrified for him.
yeah. You
She
saw
was
that.
putting her hands up. She was like, "God!" I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Because he was
Yeah.
facing her, so she must have seen his face.
She must have seen the fear in his eyes. And then next up was the Alexander Volkov versus Walt Harris, and this was the finish I was referring to. The kick to the sternum, or the solar plexus just underneath, was what did it. And we've seen a few of these recently, these big straight kicks. I don't know what they're called, you guys obviously know. They teak kick, is it, where it's like that straight kick with the heel, the base of your feet. So I got it right. I'm quite proud of that. Well done me. Yeah, straight in the solar plexus, and we saw the ladies last week, and it happened a lot recently, and it shows how brutal they are. So I'd be very, very interested to hear you guys tell me about how much body shots can hurt. Danny, what did you make of this fight? And talk me through a good body shot.
Yeah, I mean, Walt Harris, he's good. I rate him, but it just looked like he was suffering with the height and range of Volkov. He looked like a little lost on how to deal with it, and there's opposite stance as well, which can be another issue. He just looked a little bit like he had a few question marks floating above his head throughout the whole experience. I think he just struggled to find something that was going to work against Volkov. And Volkov, this time around, he looked a little bit leaner, a little bit more muscular than he did previous. Whether that's just lighting effects, I don't know. But I don't know, he just looked more on it this time around. Looked really, really calm. When Walt Harris was coming at him, he was calmly defending and countering. I think it was a really, really solid performance. And yeah, I've got a feeling that Volkov is doing the right type of training to improve himself. And yeah, he made it work really, really well. And that stab kick, we call it a stab kick at our gym, but stab kick for good reason, because it's like being knifed. A body shot, it's not a pleasurable experience. And he kept filling it out numerous times, because there was that opposite stance. He kept doing that rear leg teep, and that's really good because it stops Walt's powerful hands, and it stops most risks of any takedowns, which I don't think Walt was ever going to try and attempt to do. It was just a solid performance, and well done Volkov. But what you heard Walt yell out as he got teeped, it must have been horrendous. He was rolling around on the ground for quite some time afterwards. Yeah, solid performance, exciting.
What did you make of that, Aaron? And also, like, for someone Walt Harris's size to react like that to a kick like that, it must have hit him right in that sweet spot, I think.
Oh yeah, it was a solid performance, like Danny was saying. Volkov looked like he had all boxes ticked for Walt, and that kick looked horrendous, didn't it? Right in the perfect spot. It's just, you can imagine the power he drove behind with those long legs as well.
Oh yeah. Volkov, who are we putting him up against next, lads?
So I would say someone that's going to potentially shoot in on him, because I think sometimes he's been taken down easy, hasn't he? He has not looked great on the ground. So I'd like to see someone who's going to perhaps try and threaten to engage, see whether he really is evolving his game.
What are the heavyweight rankings? Like, where is he,
so
and who's above him?
Now. Lightweight, heavyweight. So Volkov is number 7. So then just around him, you've got Overeem is 5, Dos Santos 6, Derek Lewis 4, Rosenstruck, Blades, and Ngannou. And then below him, you've got Augusto Sakai, Abdurakhimov,
Possibly
Walter Harris.
Rosenstrike or JDS or Blades maybe, because Blades is
but I was
kind of
gonna
an
say
awkward
Blades.
spot, isn't he? He can't fight Nagano again, and he's not good enough to fight for the title yet. So Blades makes more sense because Volkov is an experienced fighter. He's been at the top in other promotions like Bellator. So
yeah,
I mean, he is a good fight for Blades.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Blades or Overeem, I think. Or even Derek Lewis, I think, could be quite a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next? Let's have a look. We've got Robert Whitaker versus Gerard Cannonier. I always say his name wrong. I thought Whitaker looked back to his best in this, I've got to be honest. And as the fight went on, he seemed to get a bit more confidence with his footwork and creating angles, and just generally looked like the Robert Whitaker which had dominated that decision before he met Izzy Adesanya. Aaron, what did you make of this fight and Robert Whitaker's performance, and also Gerard Cannonier's performance?
For when Cannonier first came up through that hard leg kick, I thought, it's going to be a long night for Whitaker. And then Whitaker kind of ignored the leg kick for a bit, just kept popping him with the jab, and eventually started checking him, which was making Cannonier a bit more hesitant. And I obviously can't really speak on Jared's behalf, but I think he might have hit his foot or something because he switched to southpaw for a lot of that first round, which hindered him a bit more because Whitaker was firing that right high kick way more. And then as the fight progressed, the high kick was there more, the jab was more popping, Whitaker's footwork was going. And then in the third round, when Cannonier had him hurt, it was like 30 seconds left before Whitaker shot. Cannonier should have just let the gas go and just put it all on him.
Yeah, agreed.
But Whitaker showing his fight IQ, clinched him up and, survived that round until. But yeah, Whitaker looked amazing. He looked phenomenal. The best he's looked in a long time.
Since before the Adesanya fight, probably. What impressed you about Whitaker, Dan?
His ability to adapt and change his strategy whilst under pressure and potentially hurting. Those leg kicks were going in. It proper buckled his knee across. Now, so the thing with Whitaker, he does have a turned-in lead foot, which will set you up for that leg to be a target. And so, for Kanye to target it, that was really positive signs for me. I think he should have perhaps targeted a little bit more, but along with a little bit more hands as well. So that was the thing, really. Gerard just wasn't doing enough hands to keep on prepping up that leg kick, and the leg kick started becoming less and less effective because Whitaker changed and adapted to it, started checking a few of them, and then started coming in with that 1-2. I can't remember what round it was. It was either late in the second or it was in the third, where he started connecting with the straight 1-2 right down the pipe and was just getting too quick for that leg kick. And like I say, I think if Kanye had started using some hands and then kicking to mix up the combinations to get that kick off, he could have kept that leg kick being introduced, which may have stopped Whitaker being so effective in that third round when he had that really good spell. But yeah, Whitaker impressed me regards that, really, the fact that he adjusted and Kanye didn't adjust. For me, it was all for Kanye to win. He created a weakness in Whitaker's lead leg, could have found ways for me to keep targeting it, but Whitaker adjusted. Kanye couldn't. He had that really bad spell and then he'd come on strong, but he must have known he was down. And I agree with Aaron. He had Whitaker hurt on the counter, and it was a real opportunity to literally steal that fight from under Whitaker's feet. But I think I don't know, maybe doubted himself. Was he feeling tired at that time? I'm not too sure. But Kanye's face was pretty battered at the end of the fight. He had a lot of bruising around his head. And maybe had just been landed upon a little bit too much to have enough juice to try and push for the finish at the end of that third round. But I don't know. Aaron can verify. As a fighter, when you're going through some adversity, but that you're in that last minute, it's like running a marathon. Suddenly, you don't mind sprinting the finish because it's nearly over. I just think he should have gone balls to the line. And kind of, he's a powerful dude,
He's
he
got
could
the
have put.
ability to finish it, haven't he?
Yeah, he had the chance there, and he just didn't take it.
Didn't look for it really. I
No,
didn't think
but
he had
that's
any urgency in that last round.
no, not
That
enough.
was going
But
to finish anything.
yeah, Whitaker's back up there. He's proven himself to be back in the mix. He's a real true athlete and a true martial artist. But yeah, I'm just not so sure whether he'll still take it all the way to the top. I don't mean to put doubts on him already, but I'm just not too sure. I just think he's just not going to quite make it to the top.
Got the psychological edge over him.
I just think he's just better in the most important areas where Whitaker's good. I just think Adesanya's just better, and yeah.
So yeah, there be the problem. Obviously, Adesanya's champion and Whitaker's ranked number 1. Where do you go next for Robert Whitaker? You've got Paulo Costa ranked 3, obviously coming off a loss. Then you've got Hermanson, Yoel Romero, Darren Till. Wouldn't mind seeing Darren Till versus Whitaker again, even though I'm sure they won't make that fight because it was
I don't see there's any point in that.
one-sided. I'd like to see it as the one. You've got Brunson, 7, Gastelum, Chris Weidman, Uriah Hall, Sebastian. Could be a good fight for Kanye next, I think. Who else is in there of interest? Tavares. Who would you put him up against next? Whitaker, Aaron?
Whitaker, either the Adesanya rematch, but again, that's considering how the first one went. It's a bit.
Yeah, I just don't see him doing it.
It's a big one. Or maybe Costa. Put him against Costa, because Costa wants that rematch as well, don't he? So.
Yeah, you could do him for the
I think that makes
opportunity
sense.
for a rematch, couldn't you?
Yeah,
I suppose that would be a good
and
shot.
I think that'd be really, really good. And if Whitaker pulls through on that, I just think his tools will be sharpened enough to maybe make some threats to try and steal it. But I'd stick by what I said. I just don't know. I just think he's reached his nemesis there with Adesanya. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think if anyone's going to strike with Adesanya, it's going to be a bad night for him. His striking is too good.
Yeah.
But like you say, mate, lads, I think maybe a Costa fight with the winner getting Robert Whitaker, getting Adesanya, is probably the way to go, ultimately.
It makes sense.
And then the main event of the evening, Khabib Nurmagomedov, I did quite well that time, versus Justin Gaethje, the fight where everyone thought Gaethje was the guy who might finally give Khabib some trouble. Did he give him any trouble, Danny?
Well, he did, because he hurt him with like a leg kick, but then he lost the fight very, very quickly after that. So as soon as he started trying to make a chink in his armour, it was kind of curtains thereafter. To me, Gaethje was given the takedowns so much respect. He started throwing punches out of range, and his boxing fell apart for me. He was doing windmill shots. He looked awkward, and he always looked gassed as well at the end of the first round. He put himself under a load of pressure, and I've never seen that before from him. So I think he largely underperformed without trying to take anything away from Khabib. I thought he was going to do better than he did. It was the way he was winging his arms. It was just shocking.
Strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little strange, but for Khabib, man, it's just amazing. He ended up taking him down and keeping him down, which we've never seen. And he went for that armbar. I mean, if there's just another 30 seconds on the clock, I have no doubt he would have got that armbar. But one thing that was showing up is either that we don't understand the level that Khabib's at, and it's just beyond all of our understanding, or he showed up that there's good reason why Gaethje's so resilient to avoid the ground, because he ain't got no skill on there. He looked like a complete white belt up against Khabib on the ground. He really, really did. The armbar setup was not anything super technical. It was pretty basic in its setup. But it was practically going on at the end of that first round. And that triangle setup, I mean, not very many people lose from a triangle being set up from a mount position like that. And to me, Gaethje did the wrong thing. He turned up and put himself deeper into it. That's just not what you do there. So I was a little bit surprised. So, yeah, happy for Khabib. I mean, wow, he's just done one. I mean, I thought, what is it? He's lost one round in his whole 29 fights. Is that right? Yeah. I think that still stood. I don't think he still lost a round against Cage. And that's just phenomenal. Absolute phenomenal. It's a shame he has retired, because one fight I would like to see is the only type of person that he hasn't fought yet, and that's someone who's well-rounded, who's also a strategist, who's also a genius, and that's GSP. I think, not to throw into question Khabib's incredible legacy that he's created for himself, but he's beat the wrestlers, he's beat the strikers, but to me, he's never really fought the full package in terms of a strategist. And GSP's always been able to fathom out everyone. And Khabib, as it stands, is a lock that hasn't been able to be picked yet. But GSP's the locksmith. He figures people out and he finds a way to win. I'd love that to happen. I still think that might happen,
I think it'll ultimately depend on his mum, from what he said afterwards. She didn't want him to fight again without his father. He said he was going to take this fight to finish, and then that was it. He promised her. And he went into some more detail in the press conference afterwards. And basically, he said, like, that was it. I promised that this would be it, and this would be it. And I think, when you compare to other fighters who've retired and then come back, and retired and come back, like Conor and others, I don't think Khabib is like that. I feel like when he says he's done, he's done. And I might be wrong. Maybe in 6 months' time, when he's had time to grieve properly, because it must have been very difficult to grieve and get to grips with losing his father, who's been there all these years. Yeah. When you're training, he must have been, he's trying so hard to be focused on training. It's difficult to get your head together and grieve and stuff. So
yeah, I watched some interviews and stuff leading up to this fight, and a couple of times he was getting frustrated with the people doing the interviewing. And he goes, "Come on, guys, you always ask me the same question. Is it hard to train without my fight?" Of course it's hard. It's a stupid question. I think he conducted himself well. He held himself, but he was getting knocked off.
You could see the emotion on him as well.
Absolutely.
When he won.
And you could tell that wound of losing his father is still a very much open wound. And you're right. Maybe he'll go away, lick that wound, let it heal up, and maybe that desire to get back in there to prove himself again, it might come about. I don't know. I mean, come on, MMA. He's passionate about the sport and about martial arts. Can he really turn his back when he's been so? He hasn't even really been in a tough fight. It doesn't seem. He's just made.
But then he could go to coaching himself, mate. Maybe coach the next generation of Dagestani fighters. Maybe that's the way he'll go. And I mean, that could be interesting ultimately. Look, Dana White will, I'm sure, over the next year, send him the odd text message. Particularly if, for instance, if Conor McGregor goes and starches Poirier in January, you'd imagine the first thing Dana White will do is text Khabib and say, "You sure you don't want the rematch?"
Yeah,
because that's basically the biggest fight you can make.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I can imagine in a number of months' time, Dana White contacting Khabib, asking to say about this GSP sort of kind of match up, saying, "Look, it's going to be GSP's last time ever in to do it literally as a super fight. No belts needed to try and defend your belt." I don't know. I think it's possible to do, because it'd be a massive money earner for everyone all round, including UFC, and it will make that 30-0. It rounds up the number, and I think that could be possibly a temptation.
The GSP fight, though, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It doesn't appeal to me without the belt. I don't know why. It's weird. Whereas the McGregor fight, I'd actually, in many ways, prefer it without the belt, because I don't necessarily want to see Conor McGregor as champion again. I'd rather see him take some exciting fights at this time in his career. I don't know why it is. There's just something about the GSP fight doesn't.
A belt would be pointless. I mean, if Khabib's talking about retirement now, so the only temptation you'd ever get for him is to do a feature fight, and GSP don't want to come back fighting regularly. So
that's right. Yeah, I don't know why
it would only ever be. I don't know. I don't. It's just a childhood thing in me that's a matchup you want to see, and whether we ever get to see that, I don't know.
GSP he's very much the guy who kind of figured people out, so it'd be interesting to what strategy he would take against Khabib, someone who's basically beating everyone in every way. So it would be interesting. Aaron, what did you make of this fight? What did you make of Khabib's performance and ultimately his career?
Khabib put it on him from the word go. He didn't back up once, did he? Like Danny was saying, I think Gaethje respected Khabib's takedown, well, like he should, takedown threat too much. He was like pulling his hips back in combos.
Yeah.
He'd throw like a 1-2, but pull his hips back instantly, which was leaving him off balance. Yeah, like the whole time that first round, I watched it with my girlfriend and my oldest son, and I was saying how like this is not how Gaethje fights normally. Like he was like he was doing like as soon as he threw his hips back, which was hindering his striking and making like there was points of that round where I thought Khabib might have like caught Gaethje and put him down, but that obviously never didn't happen. But then, as you've seen, as soon as it hit the ground, there was levels. Gaethje looked out of his depth as soon as Khabib touched him. Like he took him down. It took him 5 seconds to down. He wrapped him up in 20. So that got says it all. Khabib's just another level to everyone in the lightweight division. And
no one's been able to touch him really, have they?
No,
Let's be
he's got
honest.
nothing else to prove apart from that GSP fight. There's nothing else.
So would you be a fan of watching that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'd want to see that so much because GSP stylistically, he's not the kind of person that would suffer from that ring rust. I don't know, to me, he's always in training. He's a complete martial artist in every sense of the word. So, and look how he come out from several years to fight. When he rear naked choked Bisping. He really made short work of Bisping. Really made short work of him, and he just didn't miss a beat. And I think that wouldn't be an excuse if he did lose against Khabib. I don't think it would be because he was rusty in any stretch. If Khabib wins, it's be just because, well, look, he's just something that no one's ever seen before and no one can figure out. And then to me, it's a done deal through and through. But yeah, like I say, I just see that Khabib's this lock that no one's been able to figure out how to pick, and yet GSP's always been able to decipher someone. When he's lost against someone, he fights them again and then beats them. Yeah, so that's why I want to see that one. To me, it's just not done for me yet. I don't want it to end yet.
I think it will be though. Like Khabib looks like he's when he says something, he means it kind of guy.
Yeah.
And if
I
he
get that
made
sense.
a promise to his mum, unless his mum says, "Oh look, go fight GSP," I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah,
spot on. I couldn't agree more with you both. Like I haven't always been the biggest fan of Khabib. I don't know whether that's just I didn't like the way he conducted himself during the build up to all the stuff with Conor McGregor, because what I didn't like about it is I felt like he was trying to paint himself as the innocent party, whilst Conor McGregor, because he's so mouthy, is easy to blame him for everything. And I felt that they were both kind of didn't do themselves too much. They didn't cover themselves in glory, either one of them, outside of the cage, in the build-up and the aftermath. But since then, I've kind of grown to love him in a weird way. Like, I just got so much respect for the way he conducts himself generally. It just seems Conor McGregor kind of got under his skin, basically. But other than that, the way he conducts himself, his skill set, just everything about him, I do believe he's truly one of the greatest the UFC has seen. But it's weird. Like I see him. You can't say he's not one of the greatest when he's got 29-0. But I also look at his all-round game, and I don't think you can say he is the greatest, because he's very, I don't want to say one-dimensional, because he's shown.
But you can say that. But that's what makes it even more impressive. He's
knows what he's
achieving,
and he still does it.
and no one can stop him.
And that makes it even more impressive, because he's kind of got the old school mentality where he's got this one type of martial art. Okay, he's one with a triangle, and he can strike a bit. I'm not saying he's not well rounded. He is in the big scheme of things, but he always goes to the main go-to of taking you down and screwing you up on the ground, whether it's by ground and pound or submission. And, that just makes it even more wowing. The fact that, his striking is not up there at world-class level, but he just uses his striking to get where he wants it to be. And, that's to behold. That's incredible to me. Really is. Lee Remedios actually put an interesting post up that I wouldn't say it was trolling by any sense, but he just made a comment. Hey, look, everyone's saying about Khabib how honourable he is and how this guy, everyone should follow in his footsteps. And he goes, you should so sure about that. And he put the clip up where he jumps out the cage and attacks Dylan Dennis.
Yeah,
and then people were arguing, what are you trying to say? And he goes, well, I'm not trying to say Khabib ain't an amazing man. I agree that he is, but I'm just trying to say I wouldn't want my kids acting like that. And that's a really good point to put. I think people are just giving Khabib all the respect that they are doing because they're caught up in the moment and the emotions that obviously he's feeling with the loss of his dad, the fact that he's retiring now, and so I understand that people are sort of like going along with all that emotion. But but Lee Remedios is a smart guy, and he is someone that will step back and look at a situation or look at a situation right from far back. And although he perhaps isn't trying to say one particular way, he does put a good conversation up on some of his posts, and he made a really good point. And I mean, personally, again, I've been the same as you, to be honest. Khabib is someone that perhaps in the past I've not given the respect and always looked for someone that was going to beat him. I was sort of a bit one of those. It was almost like when Chris Eubanks as a boxer was, doing so well. I always watched because I was waiting for him to lose, and I found myself falling into the trap of that. But this guy's proved me wrong time again, and being a former fighter, I've got to respect that, and no more than after what I saw the other night. He's truly amazing.
Yeah, can't fault him. And he deserves utmost respect for the way his career and everything, and he's just broken everyone, and he deserves to be the number one pound for pound fighter as he retires. Even though he's retiring, they should put him as the number one pound for pound fighter. He deserves that to retire. How he's not that already when John Jones hasn't fought for so long, I think is a bit maybe a bit naughty. Very quickly then, to finish us off then, lads, we'll do some predictions from those fights I mentioned earlier. We got Bobby Green versus Thiago Moises. Aaron, who you got in that one?
Bobby Green.
Danny?
TKO.
Bobby Green. Yeah, Bobby Green. He's done well of late, hasn't he?
That Moises is going to come out and try and submit him the same as he did with Michael Johnson, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think that's going to play into his what Bobby Green's going to want, isn't it? He's going to play into his
Johnson was piecing him up on the feet as well before that second round. And then
it's going to be
come out.
Should be a good fight, a good one to watch, I think. Because it should be quite strategic from both sides. Then the next one is Morris Green versus Greg Hardy. Not my favourite fighter. Who you got for this one, Dan?
That's a bit of a difficult one. I'm going to go Greg Hardy.
Okay, and what about you, Lawrence? Sorry, mate. Aaron.
What the hell?
I know. Someone just sent me a message on my screen.
I'm going to go with Greg Hardy. Maurice Green, he fought Olenek, if I'm not mistaken, or I am mistaken, or whatever. And I wasn't too impressed with him in that fight. So I think Greg's the better all-round fighter.
Yeah, I think wasn't Maurice Green when he fought Olenek? Didn't he look? I might be mistaking him for someone else, so I apologise if it wasn't him. Wasn't he the one? He looked really like sluggish and out of shape, and
he held on.
Looked like he hadn't been training at all.
Yeah, when Olenek got into the ground, he just held on.
There was he didn't move, didn't do anything, did he? He just laid there. Yeah, that was January this year. He faced Villante in July, and he beat him by an arm triangle submission choke.
Yeah, from underneath, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's
Yeah.
a good memory. Good memory, Dan.
Yeah, I just remember, but he's a giant of a man. He's an extremely big guy.
Big dude.
But I just think Greg Hardy's. Yeah,
That's
but Greg
right.
Hardy's going to be too much for him.
That's right. And now that you've said his height, he did like that weird choke from underneath.
Yeah, and he was getting head up the whole fight. He was getting head up, but yeah, he pulled it off, and got to be in it to win it, and he was still in it, and he pulled it off and won it.
Next up is Kevin Holland returns to fight Makhmed Murdov. You got for this one, Aaron?
Tough fight to call. That Murdov, I was impressed with him in his last fight, and Holland always seems to impress me whenever he fights. He seems to get better and better.
Yeah,
So
my thing with Kevin Holland is he seems to like lose one, win one, lose one, win one. He can't seem to get like a run of wins together. But no, ignore me, mate. I'm thinking he's someone else. So just ignore that comment. Ignore that comment. I was thinking of, for some reason, Kevin Lee. But yeah. Sorry, Aaron. Who did you say, Kevin Holland or Makhmed?
I think Makhmed Murdov is going to win that one.
What about you, Dan?
No, I'm going to go Kevin Holland. I don't know. I just think he's improving all round. I think I think he's going to continue to make improvements, and I just think he's going to win through on that one. But that one is another hard one to call. But I'm going to go Kevin Holland.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Makhmed Murdov. And the next one is the fight which I'm looking forward to the most on this card, and that is Andre Fili versus Bryce Mitchell. Can't wait for that fight.
Fili's
Danny,
so good.
who you got for this?
Yeah, so Fili's better than the 7 losses that it shows up on his record, but I'm going to go Bryce Mitchell.
He was so impressive the last couple
really
of fights.
Has been.
He was unbelievable. Aaron, who you got for this one?
I'm going to go for Bryce as well. Like, Feely's good and he's looking better than he ever have been. But I think Bryce's grappling is going to be too much for him. He's going to stand out in this fight a lot.
And here's another question for you. If I said to you, how many twisters will Bryce Mitchell go for in this fight? Will it be over or under 5? What would you say? Danny?
I think he's going to hit a few on him. That Andre Fili is quite slim, isn't he? And so I think there's plenty of room for him to work round someone like, to me, something like a twister. You're going to get on someone that's more gangly than you are thick-bodied, because they can kind of like resist it. But I've got a feeling he's going to put on a good few. I'm going to go more than 3 for sure.
Yeah, he loves a twister. Over or under 5 twister attempts from Bryce Mitchell there, Aaron?
5. I'm going to go with under.
Oof.
I guess that's 3.
I think if he gets him in once, he'll get out. If he gets him in twice, he'll probably see it.
You know he's going to keep hunting it. I mean, that's just so impressive. It makes you wonder, if he's got that much control to start setting up twisters time again. What other things have he got in his arsenal that he could go to? I just think he's got just a fetish for it. But
then
control.
It's a good way to hide some of his other tools, isn't it? Because people think that he's just about his jiu-jitsu and his twisters or whatever, but maybe he's got some hidden tools which one day when he fights like a top fighter, they're going to be defending the twister, and he'll do something completely different.
Yeah, I just hope that the fact that he's going for these twisters, he don't fall into the trap of thinking that he has to do them. When clearly, if you're that skillful to keep setting them up time again, the way he has against the caliber of guys that he's been doing it on, that he falls into the trap of limiting himself to that, because clearly he's got other things to bring to the table with his ground, and I really want to see it.
Yes, indeed. I can't wait for that fight. It's going to be awesome. And then we've had one great fighter retire this weekend. Next weekend we have another. Uriah Hall is facing Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva said it's his last fight. Who you got for this one, Danny?
I'm going to have to go Anderson Silva, and it's a little bit with my heart more than anything else. But because he knows it's his last fight, maybe he can get himself into some shape that he hasn't been in for the last few years. Because he has looked a lesser version of himself, but I think he'll get himself up for it. But then Raya Hall is so dangerous as well. But I'm just going to go for Anderson Silva out of the respect of what he's done for the sport.
Can't fault you, mate. And what about you, Aaron? What you got? You got Anderson Silva with your heart, or you going with your head and Uriah Hall?
Oh shit! Is he frozen?
Yeah, I think he has.
Yeah. I want to get his opinion on that as well.
Yeah, I'll get him back in now. Let's see if we get him in.
There
Right,
we
mate.
are.
Don't know if you heard that. Did you want who you got? Anderson Silva or Uriah Hall, mate?
I've got Silva. I think it's going to be a pretty much lackluster fight. I don't think much is going to happen over the 5 rounds. I think they're both going to be waiting for each other.
Right, yeah.
Hall has a tendency to wait, to get scared to throw, and Silva is a counter striker.
Yeah.
And he's not going to engage Hall because Hall is a powerful guy.
Yeah,
So
he
I
is.
think
So it's going to be a ball fest, in your opinion, then, is it?
I think it will be, yeah.
Oh,
Like, I'd love it to be amazing. They both go and throw spinning stuff, flying stuff, all sorts, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I wonder whether Anderson Silva might pull out some special stuff for his last fight.
I think he'll showboat a lot. I think he'll be doing all this with his arm. I think you're going to see a lot of that because, I just think he'll fill in the gaps of not a lot happening with a little bit of showboating, which is what we've seen a lot of in his last number of fights. But yeah, I'll still watch it with interest.
Spot on, mate. And lastly, I just want to get your opinion. Danny as an ex-fighter and now a coach. Aaron as a current fighter making your way in the sport. What is Anderson Silva like? How has he influenced you as a fighter, a coach, and an MMA fan, Danny?
Just how dangerous people can be when they know their range. This guy, and also how devastating the tie clinch can be. If you remember what he did to Rich Franklin's nose, I mean, it is one of the worst nose breaks I've ever seen. Yeah, so just the sharpness of range, and then when someone tries to push through that range with his hands, how that he can then rely on that clinch. So he's both got a very devastating outward range with his strikes, and then that in close range with those elbows and knees. Because back in his younger days as well, he held that tie clinch and would chop over some really hard and fast, aggressive, horrible looking elbows. I actually looked back at some of Anderson Silva's older fights recently, and the guy was truly dangerous. Really, really dangerous. Out at range, if you stayed out of range, you're going to get whip kicked and teeped to the face. Do you remember some of the teeps to the face that he's landed on people? I mean, they're absolutely horrific. And then, like I say, when they try to push close, he just tie clinches you and knees the crap out of you. And that Rick Franklin fight was a good one to watch. I mean, those knees to the body and head were utterly devastating.
And what about you, Aaron? Obviously, you're a bit younger than Danny and myself. Anderson Silva, what is he for you?
He was phenomenal to watch, wasn't he? You knew every time he was fighting, something good was going to happen. Someone was going to go sleep. And he's like Danny was saying, he really showed how good range, accuracy, and speed meant in the striking department. He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't like this muscular powerhouse. He was flamboyant. He picked the shots well. And yeah, like you mentioned as well, that his tie clinch was unreal. Like how he held guys there so easily. I just picked them apart with knees, elbows. He throwing low kicks now and then in the tie clinch. He just made it look flawless. And his timing from the outside, his strikes, like how he bait guys to come in, was just amazing to watch. It was phenomenal.
He was the first guy which we saw kind of using the rope-a-dope in MMA, do you think?
A lot of this generation won't realise how good it was actually watching him, knowing how when he got matched against like Nate Marquardt, how good Nate Marquardt was, and seeing him just put him away like he was nothing.
Yeah. But like Aaron was saying, he was a counter fighter, so he used to draw people onto him.
Yeah.
And they used to fall for it. They used to come forward on him, and he used to knock the hell out of them.
Oh yeah. Danny, do you remember any other fighters doing like that kind of rope-a-dope style before Lawrence Moore? Fuck's sake, Lawrence again. Anderson Silva.
I just try to think, because doing this whole rope-a-dope thing, it's not something that's common in MMA, because well, especially in the modern day, I think you're not going to see it, because it loses you the round. It puts you in a bad view for the judging.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think you'll get someone beckon someone on saying, "Come on, engage," but in a literal sense, but not play rope-a-dope. I just think it's something of the past, and it just doesn't suit the framework for MMA. And I just don't think it's going to be seen again in any conceivable way.
Fair enough,
Bobby
mate.
Green tries it a lot. I'll probably see it this weekend as well with him. But apart from that, I can't think of anyone on top of my head that does it a lot.
No, not really. Some big cards coming up. Obviously, Aaron, I'm assuming you're hoping to fight on that December card. And in the Cage Warriors trilogy.
Who would you want if you could, Aaron?
Yeah.
If you can,
Whoever they
Who's
think they want to put me in for a title fight.
All right, so you're not transfixed. Yeah, you're not transfixed on any particular one person. You just want to.
I would like that Lahore rematch, but he signed a PFL. I've mentioned it in the previous interviews as well. I would like
that's
to fight
Poland. It's Poland, isn't it? Is that Poland?
No, it's the.
Which one's that?
Pro Fight League, isn't it?
Yeah, Pro Fight. It was WSOF. What's the?
It was World Series of Fighting, wasn't it? And now it's Pro Fight League in.
Anthony Patterson's coach is his organisation, isn't it? I can't remember his name. Rufus. Duke Rufus is pro organisation.
That's it. Duke Rufus. I was trying to think of his name.
He signed with them.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
I don't know who else they got on the welterweight.
Who's the welterweight Cage Warriors welterweight champ now?
Was Mason, but he signed with UFC.
Oh, of course it was. Mason just won it. So see, they should put you in a title fight, shouldn't they? Really. Just out of interest, if they'd, would you have fought Mason in a welterweight fight?
Probably not, because we are mates.
I know, that's why I'm always
we do train
interested.
together, and it's a bit awkward because if he was in the UFC, different story. We both of them made it to the top, but as we're both trying to get to the top, to ruin one's career.
Yeah, you're
step on.
you're not helping each other.
No.
Yeah, I think that's about sums it up. How I look at that situation. Why would you be trying to? It's like trying to stay afloat, isn't it? You pull one down to get your head above water, but you're drowning your mate, sort of thing. Yeah, it made no sense. But once you're at that certain level, the UFC level, that's all about making enough money to live off of when you retire. So it's all systems go.
Indeed, and I don't think there's anything else to cover. Other than to say thank you very much, Aaron Khalid, for joining us and giving us some good insights again, mate. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on. Sorry about cutting out so much.
You're right. It's technology, mate. You cannot do anything about it. We're accustomed to the technological issues because you're so dependent on internet and software and stuff. It is what it is. It wasn't too bad anyway. Danny, as ever, thank you, my friend.
Always my pleasure.
Hoping to have a UFC star with us next week. Just we're waiting on the details to see.
Okay, sounds good.
But
And,
should be a good one.
Aaron, I do hope that you'll come on for a third time, and I hope that underneath your name we will have Cage Warriors champion. Yeah, I think this is the way you're heading, and I can't wait for that. Come on, Cage Warriors, give him a title. He deserves it.
Get him in there, and hopefully poor old Ben can bloody get a fight.
Defending champion, welcome